tomorrow night. It's a show with Promo West and WCBE over at Kemba Live, and we're live in Studio A this afternoon. So happy to have a scaled-back version of Goose in the studio with us today. Jeff, Rick, and Peter with us this afternoon. And thank you all for coming in.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Oh, you bet. And it's, a rare day off. I say that, but you're still working it right here, and we appreciate that. You've been so busy on the road, and it can take a toll. So thank you so much. And we have some tickets to give away for the show tomorrow night during this live session. And, well, we've got all sorts of things to talk about, and including the latest album, what's coming up next, and Goosemas, and all sorts of good things, where it all started. But how about we get warmed up with a song first?
Sounds good.
And then we'll come back and chat. It is Goose live from Studio A, and tomorrow night, the show at Kemba Live.
Hope it's been like rope. Oh, I'm growing tired of holding on yesterday. Closed, sad how it goes. Well, I might be rusted, but brother, I'm here to stay. Is it time to shed our weapons yet, my friend? Is it love we've drawn away in our groundless love? Can we step out of the wreckage yet, my friend? Running all against their hungry side, hanging on. Taking on, but we won't lay that down. Breath, don't it let just a little closer? I know it's down here in view, but there it's only air, nothing tethered to the garment we're climbing through. Is it time to shed our weapons yet, my friend? Love we've drawn away in our desperate low. Can we step out of the wreckage yet, my friend? Running all against their hungry side, hanging on. They've taken on. Yet, my friend, is it love we've drawn away in our trembling low? Can we step out of the wreckage yet, my friend? Running on.
is Goose joining us live from Studio A, and you've been hearing that studio album, Dripfield, and that song. It's hard to pick a favorite off the Dripfield release, and we've been sharing different songs over the last year. It's almost a year to the date that that came out.
Yeah.
So Dripfield, the latest. It's Goose tomorrow night over at Kemba Live, and well, they've got a few out there. And tell us about the big difference with this one in the studio with the producer that you have this time around, and I guess in comparison to the previous albums, the biggest difference or what he may have brought to the table for you.
Yeah, it was kind of a 180 in terms of process for us. The first two were, we did a lot of the tracking on our own, in, bedrooms and things like that, and did a lot of editing, in-house as well, and, kind of took a long time. This, really handed the reins over to him in a lot of ways, and it was a much quicker process, which was really refreshing, coming off of spending, really laboring over the last one in different ways, and it was a huge learning experience. But it was really refreshing and freeing to hand the keys over to someone that we really trusted and was able to open up a lot of doors for us creatively and sonically.
So paint the picture of the studio for this one. I know you've done in the cabin for Moon Cabin and things like that.
This actually was also a cabin.
Okay.
He had kind of like a very small a house up in the hills outside of Woodstock, New York, that he was working out of since it was actually the last full record that was tracked there. He got booted pretty much. Someone wanted to sell the place, but. Yeah, it was kind of just a house, like a mid-century modern house that he converted into a studio. Basically, it was a really small space. When we first got in there, it was kind of like, oh man, this is kind of small. I don't know if this is gonna work. And then, right as soon as we got started working, it was clear that it was a highly functional space and that he kind of had it all figured out, and it was
what he was doing,
Yeah.
obviously, and it sounds so good. And well, gosh, you just kicked off the next tour, the summer tour, and you did Chicago. What was the other one? Louisville, and then just the Rothbury
Yep.
Fest. How was that? I saw some cool pictures out there.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah.
I think we all still have a little bit of dust and dirt in our throats at the moment, but it was super fun. I mean, what a festival! It's one of the most unique experiences you can get at a festival.
Beautiful up there too.
Yeah, the forest is something special. So yeah, we loved it.
So now, do you guys check out other bands, or you just chill after your sets when you go to festivals? Or
Yeah.
probably varies,
We check stuff out.
Yeah. We're on the checking out business. Yeah.
Well, you guys are all the rage in the jam band rock world right now. Is there anybody that stands out for you? If you were to say, hey, I just saw this set at Rothbury. Of course, we're giving huge props when you say this to out there.
Sure.
It was primarily electronic music at that festival. So it's like that's a world I know relatively very little about. But there's cool. Some things are grabbing in that world. It's interesting. But yeah, most of the artists I wasn't familiar with.
But elsewhere, like if you are listening to anything, what's on your radar?
Yeah, I mean, I'll give a shout out to Dogs in a Pile, who are like they're a band in our scene that are kind of like just getting started. The younger guys. We caught their set at Electric Forest, and it was awesome.
Cool.
So good for them.
Yeah.
They sound really great, and they're really good dudes.
Yeah.
And it seems like they've got a good thing, and they're super young too. So it's cool. They're on a great track.
Well, going back to younger days, tell us about the early incarnation of Goose, and it started with the two of you, right? Or no, Jeff's not
actually.
here.
Yeah. Or
Early
Trevor's
days,
not here.
Yeah. Trevor's not here.
I keep doing that.
That's all right.
Yeah.
But Trevor and
it's a long convoluted history, just like most of these things, I think. Early years were pretty sparse in a lot of ways. I was like the band started, we were playing bars around Connecticut. I went back to school, I was doing that for a couple of years and finished that, and then after a few years of that, it was we started hitting the road in 2017. Really, we got an agent and started touring, and kind of threw ourselves to the wolves, so to speak. And that was when that year was kind of like started figuring out what we wanted to be and what didn't want to be, things like that. And you know, made changes as such. Peter joined in beginning of 2018, and that's when we kind of started honing and building content and doing that kind of thing.
Yeah. And Peter also plays keys as well. He's on guitar.
Yeah,
today.
yeah.
But, well, okay. Well, let's hear another song. We'll do a couple giveaways coming up, and we'll talk more after this next one. It is Goose, live from Studio A. And tomorrow night's the show over at Kemba Live, an evening with Goose. Details on our Facebook events and at promoslive.com. What's this next one you're going to do?
It's called All I Need. It's an old one, kind of. Just vibing it.
Just vibing.
So my time will come when I have the right mind. Rid my mind of this hesitation. I can't think quite. All I need is coming up, though it's not here quite yet. Here I've seen the same thing, pretend not to mind it. I'd like to be closer to who I think I want to be. Things change, but you don't realize you have all you need. When I talk the truth I had locked up inside, where is that key to the chain holding back my mind? All I need is coming up, though it's not here quite yet. Here I've seen the same thing, pretend not to mind it. I'd like to be closer to who I think I want to be. Things change, but you don't realize you have all you need. like to be closer to. Oh, I think I want to be. Things change, but you don't realize you have. Oh, I'd like to be closer to. Oh, I think I want to be. Things change, but you don't realize you have. Oh, you need.
That's another one, Goose, live from Studio A, if you happen to be just tuning in. And the show's tomorrow night over at Kemba Live. We'll take caller number 5 at 614-821-9223. That's 821-WCBE for tomorrow night. And happy they're taking the time to do this for us this afternoon. How many songs road tested before they go on an album? Does it vary from album to album? I mean, I know you have tons of fan faves out there that haven't been on a album. How do you choose? When's the right time for some of those favorites to go on?
To go on an album?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's kind of a big it's case by case, I guess. We play a lot of shows. We kind of tour regularly. It's not really like an album cycle type band. So, we last year it was feeling like we just wanted to play a bunch of new music live. So we wrote a bunch of songs last year and played a bunch of them live. We still want to record them, so we're kind of doing that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a constant thing. We play a lot of shows and we like playing newer things and keeping it fresh and changing as much as we can. I think we get stir crazy quick. So
It's nice that there's no formula to it, we
Right.
don't have to record a song in order to play it,
Right,
know?
right.
That is kind of liberating in a way. It's like if something feels really fun and fresh, it's like, let's just go out there and play it,
Right.
It's kind of a cool feeling. And, obviously sometimes when you put out the album, not all the songs are like brand new, but we get a couple in there at least.
we like to put a couple.
Yeah, we like to get a couple.
So tell us about choosing set lists each gig. Because you want to keep it fresh, you don't want to have the same show, obviously.
It's a process of I think we got over 70 songs now, kind of in the original songs, at least in the rotation. So it's like we kind of have to work around what's been played last in a certain place, or what we played recently, and kind of batch songs based on that, and then then it's just a process of figuring out the flow of the show off of those songs and stuff.
So is somebody keeping track of all who keeps
Oh,
track?
yeah.
He generally does the password stuff of figuring out the stats and batching. He generally batches from shows, and then I'll kind of go in usually, and sometimes we talk about it together, but do an order.
Yeah.
I do better with the limitation of here's what we're working with, and then kind of just telling a little story with that batch.
Yeah.
So what about your fans, the poll that they do about their favorite shows, online poll? Have you seen this?
Oh
at all?
yeah. Favorite jams, favorite shows.
Yeah.
It's great. I love the discourse. I think it's cool that people are listening to the music and paying that much attention. It's quite a compliment, I would say.
Have you ever been I can't believe they chose that show over this show?
Oh sure.
Definitely that.
Yeah, our perspective is wildly warped. I think.
And well, then the pandemic hit. You guys worked around it. You still did your live, the virtual stuff, and which led to this bingo concert. Take us through that process. It sounds
Jeff's first
pretty...
shows in the band.
Hi.
Jeff is here.
And who came up with the idea?
I think it was a van kind of thing.
It had been a running joke for a while, or just this idea of doing it at shows, having John out on a bingo ball machine and calling the songs that we're playing, and I mean at that time our managers came to us and hey, no one's playing shows live, but we're doing these live streams, and kind of people are trying to make more of it, so we're doing these live stream tours. We're seems kind of dumb, like how can we make this more interesting and like more engaging instead of just us playing the same songs over and over again in a room,
Gotcha.
So we just got our wheels spinning, and we revisited that whole the bingo idea, and we really leaned into it and kind of explored a bunch of different avenues and ideas along with it and ways to incorporate and just for people to be involved. It was a really special time. It was really fun.
And that created that series of concerts through that bingo play. That's so cool.
Yeah.
What a great idea. And then, so much has happened for you guys. Tell us about how you got connected with Trey. I'm sure you knew of Fish before this all happened
Had
and
heard of
listened.
them, yeah.
You heard it, a thing or two. But yeah, that was pretty exciting. The Jimmy Fallon thing, we'll talk about that too. But first, Trey, how'd you get connected with that and him coming on to perform with you guys?
I think the first time there was like any kind of contact that we were aware of was when we did that. We played on the rooftop of the Rock in the city.
So cool.
We were for Goose the year that we couldn't perform live and or in front of people. And someone was there and got a text from Trey. It was like, "Hey guys, like tuning in, love the outfits, whatever." We were like, "Oh wow, that's pretty cool." And then I don't know, things kind of developed from there. There was a few times we almost played a show with them, opening for them or something like that, and it fell through. And at a certain point, he kind of just expressed interest in doing this. He had this idea about wanting to do these old like hockey arenas, kind of weird market tour with us. And we were like, well, yeah, cool, we're down. It was wild. It couldn't, it's pretty surreal, the whole thing.
But I heard or I read an interview with you that, he was just so polite. And like when he was on stage, you guys want me to go away?
Oh, yeah.
Radio City, sure.
Yeah, Radio City for sure. Oh, that's right. That happened.
Right.
He came out before that, yeah.
Yeah.
He was extremely humble and extremely polite. And it was,
So
I really appreciate that. And it was also like, come on, dude, you're the guy, Yeah, no,
But that makes him even more the guy.
Exactly. Exactly. No, he's a really incredible. Getting to know him was even more inspiring than I was before by his music and stuff. Yeah.
And then Jimmy Fallon with Mustang Sally, that was pretty cool too.
Oh yeah.
You guys kind of got together and discussed certain songs and which ones to choose.
I think.
We sent him a list of every single cover that we play, and then he picked out like 5 songs, and then Mustang Sally was on that list, and it was the clear choice.
Yeah. He took some convincing, but.
Yeah.
He was just. He was hanging out during the show, and he kept like, I don't want to get in the way. I don't want to do your thing. Like, come on, man. It's gonna be fun. He's awesome.
Yeah.
He's so fun.
So how do you guys, all the success, how do you stay so grounded? Or do
stay
you?
Busy. We never stop.
That's how we stay grounded. I don't know. Yeah, it's a constant effort. I wouldn't say I've personally like figured it out by any means, but I think it's just like constant trial and error and trying to find ways to stay grounded. Yeah.
And learning lessons along the way, I'm sure. And
just connecting with people, like the fan, community, like that has made me stay grounded for sure. Because it's you just like it's like the real interactions are in person. Yeah. And like that kind of just like, it's like, you're just a person, and I'm a person, and we're like talking,
But some people just don't have that attitude, so we appreciate yours. That's
nice,
for sure.
It's nice to have that. Yeah.
And then what else? Goosemas, we touched on that a little bit, so it's coming up again. This in the same place. Do you switch around every year?
It's been switching around for a while since the original. The old school was at the Factory Underground, like a studio event space in Norwalk, Connecticut, the first 3 or 4 years. And then since then, it's been somewhere different every year. Last year was the first, I guess The Rock was in New York, but, the recent years have been the first time it wasn't in Connecticut, our home area. Gotcha. And now we're kind of bopping around a little bit.
And talk about your hometown a little bit.
Peter, Trevor, and John and I are from the same, town in Connecticut.
A little small home.
Smallish, yeah. Sort of rural town that we grew up in there.
Yeah.
We know each other we're kind of spaced out in age, but it's not not a huge town, so we all kind of were aware of each other and over time.
So what happens when you play close to home these days? Is it just nuts?
There, it was like I said, it was kind of like a long history. There was a time in like a previous band where we'd play these big crazy shows when all the kids were kind of still around that area, but most of the people moved. Connecticut's not really a place that you hang out in your like latter 20s, and it's like a place you raise families and do things like that. So it's there's pockets. There's a cool scene in like Black Rock, things like that. But there was, for a while, we'd play bar shows and like all the kids would come out and it would be like super fun and rowdy and stuff. And then Goose, like as the years went on, it kind of started getting pretty quiet, and it just got weird. And then we started coming out here, and it was cool again.
Yeah, honestly, like the start of the band
Yeah.
was like a big part of it was in Covington, Kentucky, like Cincinnati
Mm-hmm.
area. It took like getting a following out there in order for like people in Connecticut to be like, oh yeah, like this is our band.
I know those guys.
Yeah, like I know those guys.
Well, there's the acoustic side project, which is much like this, right? That you
Yeah.
guys are doing as well.
A Ray Below, yeah.
Okay. And I have a friend who's a fan, and he was at a show in Colorado where this big storm happened, and you had to do unplug and makeshift.
Oh,
plug.
yeah,
Oh
the-
yeah, the party.
We did a little party out there, and there was a big thunderstorm that came in, so we just went unplugged, and it was a cool experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anybody light candles, or they just hold out their lighters so everybody can.
It's kind of like a tiki bar vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very nice.
It was
Well,
still light.
yeah. Well, it is Goose joining us live from Studio A. They've got we've got another set of tickets to give away after this third song that they do for us today, and we can't thank you enough for taking the time on your busy
Yeah, thanks for
schedule.
having us.
Thank you so much, and we look forward to hearing, I guess, ETA on the next album. Another year or so.
It'll come.
Yeah.
You'll keep us posted.
Yeah.
It is Goose live from Studio A, and what are you going to take us out with, guys?
We're gonna play Dripfield.
Excellent.
How did he let down? How did he get down in it? How did he show them? How did he hold them in it? How did he come to? How did he run true? How was it in full? Boundless and simple love. Only wrong on a rated soul. All the rain it calls, howling up. Season come, all the reeds you run. Such a heedless one, climbing out. Oh, there I hear him stepping, overhead in heaven. Ocean still I'm treading, turned out to the red, caught under the crescent, undertow I fell in. Water I keep pressing, water I keep pressing down. Only one consolated song, separated from can't see what I'm keeping on my back. Still can't see what I'm keeping on my back. Falling around in circles, falling around in circles. Still don't know where my blood is. Why you gotta be such a soldier all the time? Why you gotta be such a soldier? Why you gotta be such a soldier all the time? Why you gotta be such a soldier? Howling out the prison, calling for the rhythm. Time's bound in prison, drifting where you sitting, rising like the weather. Blood gets pumping redder.